Hi, welcome everyone to the Q&A with director Lauri Randla, who directed our opening night film, Goodbye Soviet Union. He could unfortunately not join us at the festival, but we have an interesting Q&A lined up for you. So yeah, let's dive right in, Lauri. A lot of the film is based on your personal experiences, and I'm just wondering how you kept the line between, how much to share from yourself and how much you fictionalized. If you could talk about the screenplay.
Well, the project started in 2008 when I was applying to film school. And I had to write, one of the assignments was to write autobiography where you used 5 or 6 elements from your real life. And you kind of like constructed a story around those facts. So I chose the facts like I was born immaturely and put into an incubator, that I had to move into an enclosed city. And then, well, I borrowed the Ingrian dialect, of course, and the first love experiences, and the fact that my mother had to go to Finland to work and I had to stay in the Soviet Union as a pawn. So around those elements, then, well, the first version was like, it had like, let's say 24 characters, like it's too much. So I had to start to combine those characters. For example, in real life, the only person who got evicted from the city was my uncle. He visited us, and he was a photographer by his profession. So he had a camera with him at Sillamäe, which is forbidden. And he went on the beach, which is an absolutely beautiful place. And he took a photo, and we had the reactor or the plant in the left corner of the photo, and the KGB arrested him, and he disappeared for 2 days. And I borrowed that kind of family experience that we had from Sillamäe to the movie, but in the film, it kind of like includes the entire family.
Mm-hmm. And this is such recent history. First of all, I don't think it's something that we see a lot in Baltic cinema yet. But I think it's exciting that that's starting to be explored. But also, not just you, but also I think many of your actors must have had their personal memories and their kind of, I won't say triggers, that's a bit too hard, but like, how did they incorporate their own memories of that time into the film? And did you accommodate for that, or how did you work with them?
Yeah, well, actually, I accommodated the experiences, of course. For example, the birth giving scene, it's not my mother's fate to give birth in silence. It was DOP's Ellen Lokman's mother who had that fate. And when Ellen told me about doing the rehearsals about that incident, I said that that's so stupid that we're going to have to include it in the movie, So yeah, her mother was screaming in the hallway because there was not enough rooms in real life, and because she was screaming there, the nurse came and said that shut up, that Soviet Union, you give birth in silence. So that's what we borrowed there. And also the set designer or the production designer, she's 20 years older than me, so she had experiences of that system when she was an adult, so she could add a lot of details there. And of course, Ulla Kaljuste, who played grandmother, she was in Soviet Union, she was a movie star. So Soviet Union, she experienced the Soviet Union in a very different way than the rest of us, and all that kind of borrowed there, of course, yeah.
No, that's amazing that you can, kind of suck up everyone's tiny little stories and make a whole. So I was also wondering about the minorities. I think, at least for me and maybe for many other people, this is the first time that they hear about the Finnish Ingrians, and you made Vera and her brother are Chechen, which I think also isn't something that you see maybe very often in Baltic cinema. What was your thinking behind that?
Well, it was big news for me that I was Ingrian. I remember I was 3 years old and I was playing with my Russian friends in Sillamäe, because that town was like 99.9% Russian. And suddenly the kids tell me, you're not Russian. I'm like, what? Because I was like, Russian was the first language I learned. So I went back home and I started to ask, who am I? And then, well, yeah, my grandmother told me that we're Ingrians, that they're Finns, that they're a tribe of Finns that moved to Leningrad area about in 1700s or something like that. And until Stalin's purges in 1930, you could live in the Leningrad area and live in your small village and just speak Finnish. You never had to really use Russian. But that all changed in 1930 when Stalin was preparing to attack Finland, and a big Finnish minority right in the middle of Leningrad was not something that he could accept. So that's when the deportations and all that started. And I grew up with these stories, and at the moment I'm writing a TV series about my grandmother's experiences. But ingredients were also big news for every single child that I've ever met in Estonia, because when I moved to Tartu, which is a predominantly Estonian city, and I presented myself as an ingredient, nobody knew what that was. So it's a very small group of Finns. They were called Leningrad Finns at first, and many of them kind of like incorporated as part of the Russian society, more like, you know, the language is completely disappearing. I'm not 100% sure, but as far as we know at the moment, I haven't met no one that understands or speaks the dialect younger than me. So I hope there is. I could be wrong. I hope there is, because it would not be a nice thing to be a dinosaur, you know. So yeah.
And so the two Chechen children, did you kind of make the link? Oh, well, I'm a minority, they're a minority, or was it just kind of?
Yeah, the minority idea was there, but in real life, the girl was Ossetian, but it's such a small nation, you know. It's right next to Chechnya, actually. But the financiers were like, nobody's going to know who are Ossetians. We already have ingredients. My head is going to explode, you know. So then we agreed that, okay, Chechens, they're the people in the Caucasus that are pretty famous. So, you know, and that was the reason to choose the Chechens.
The film is also very colorful, which I think maybe people, you know, the stories that I've been also told about the Soviet Union is kind of the opposite of that. You know, it's my parents' memories are very gray, and, you know, everyone was wearing gray clothes and everything. But so why did you make that choice? Is it from your memory, or how did you?
Our memories, I think our memories are wrong. And I was surprised about it myself, because I remember that exactly the way you described it. And there's kind of a reason for that. When I looked at the old photos of the Soviet Union, they do look by color exactly like you described, gray and dull. But there's a catch. It's the Soviet film that it's filmed on. It didn't have the ability to represent colors as they were. It's very Soviet again. So we stumbled upon a book that was released in 1979. It was by Priit Veselin, who is an expatriate Estonian who returned to Soviet Union with a Kodak camera, with a Kodak film. And he took photos around Soviet Union, and it was a colorful place. And we were really surprised, because I remember from my childhood, in Soviet Union, they had also problems with producing colors to paint houses. I'm not kidding. So they were like, green was available, maybe blue and yellow, and that's it. You know, that's all you have. And the problem was that the colors were made of, I don't know from what, but they didn't mix with each other. You couldn't mix colors, which was also amazing. So that's why we saw in those books like blue, green, yellow, and red colors. And we decided that, hey, we should use them, because the Soviet Union has been represented so many times in cinema through Orbo film, which is a film that is not capable of presenting those colors. So we wanted to approach it a bit differently.
Mm-hmm. And so can you talk next about the actors that you selected, and how did you get your cast together?
Well, I think that my predominant feeling was that to create or recreate an Ingrid dialect, we would need someone who speaks Russian and Finnish. And as far as it looks like, it proved to be right. It made those two languages made life a lot easier for the actors, because they could, when they read the dialect, they could understand what it meant, about 90% of it. With, for example, Ylä Kaljuste, who does not speak Finnish, it was a lot harder, but she managed it very well. But it required a lot of work. And for example, Timoja, who played the grandfather, he has Finnish language skills, and so does his son Taro, who played Kolja. So it just kind of proved that you can build the Ingrian language with the understanding of Finnish, Savo dialect, and Russian. And it was very interesting we also had a person who was familiar with Ingrian language and was teaching it to the actors, of course. But we wanted to make sure that we can catch at least the version of the Ingrian language that my grandparents spoke before it disappears. The Ingrian dialect that is presented in the Goodbye Soviet Union movies, a mix of Russian and Ingrian. It's because we lived in an area that is predominantly Russian, so you start to incorporate Russian words more and more into your speech. So that was the effect of it.
Right. And I read somewhere that you had a workshop with your whole cast before the screening. Yeah. So can you talk about why you chose to do that and what you wanted to get out of your actors?
Well, I do a lot of writing first of all. So when I direct once a year or once every second year. So it's a big pause. So I usually do, for one, I do those workshops for myself. So I need to warm up. But I also have noted that you can't really tell much about the actors in a small casting session where they play with you for about 30 minutes in front of you and then they disappear. Because they're gonna try to show you the best side of them, but I also gonna have to see other sides of them, their best face, because we're gonna be together for 90 days and we'll be under a lot of stress. So I tend to do a small workshop, and that's more time for me to evaluate people and to get to know how they work. My first assignment, of course, is to find out how can I help an actor. Everybody is different, so you cannot copy paste those tools that you use with one actor to another. Right. So you're going to have to take some time and get to know them. Mm-hmm. And that's why we did the workshop, and also we practiced the Ingrid dialect. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then I'm also wondering whether the film has screened in Finland or what the reaction is there.
Well, yeah, it has. After the pandemic started, we finally managed. We were supposed to screen it in March, but in 2020, but we managed to do it in July. I think it was June or July. And in some ways, Corona kind of maybe helped a bit because it was the first cinema released in movie theaters when the restrictions were lifted. So I think it kind of helped me a bit because it was the most watched movie for a weekend, which is unheard of for an Estonian movie in Finland.
Amazing, yeah.
It hasn't happened. And so far, I think it's about 27,000, 30,000, something like that, viewers in cinema, but it has also been shown in Viaplay, which is our version of Netflix here locally, Elisa Entertainment and so forth. I don't know how many people have seen that, but the reaction has been pretty positive, mostly. So I think this movie could be frustrating to some people who don't know much about Soviet Union. For example, the younger generation has difficulties of understanding in a society where you can't have bananas. Like, what the hell is that? They don't think that it's real, but the bananas is just a metaphor or an allegory also.
Yeah.
There were a lot of deficits of more than just bananas. There was deficit of everything, pretty much. So but it has been pretty positive because it doesn't show the Soviet Union through the regular eyes, I would say, like we used to see it.
Mm-hmm. And what are the final question I'm going to ask you is, I'm sure our audiences will want to see more of you. So what do you have coming up? What are your next plans?
Well, I'm running a TV series about my grandmother's experience. It's going to be a 6-episode miniseries or closing series, whatever it's called. And it's about how she went to Auschwitz and through Auschwitz to Finland and back to Soviet Union. It's a, easygoing road movie. Yeah. But that's the main thing I'm doing. And I also have one kids movie in development and another TV series coming on Finnish television or Elisa Entertainment. so to speak. But I can't disclose yet what kind of show it's going to be. So
keep us guessing. We'll follow your career with excitement. So thank you for joining us for this Q&A, and hope to see you soon. And yeah, look forward to your next project. Thank you so much.
thanks. All right. Bye.